Welcome back to House of Horns. My name is Victor Corona, aka Victor Producer, and Gilbert is joining me today. Gilbert, who does it for Sports Illustrated, staff writer there. Gilbert, welcome. It's good to be talking playoff football as we get ready for Rams and Giants Week 17 preview. How are you doing, sir?
Yeah, I'm doing well. It's a big time game. I know the opponent isn't like the Ravens or the 49ers, but hey, clinching scenario for the Rams. When the email came out, hit my inbox and it said playoff scenarios. I went to go look for the Rams. First time this year they have an opportunity to clinch the playoffs, and so I'm sure people are feeling good about that. From what 3-6 in the bye week to five of the last six victories to be one victory and some help away from the playoffs, and we'll discuss that in a bit.
Yeah, and I mean, who would have thought? I mean, here we are sitting week 17, and we're talking about potential possibilities for the Rams to get into the playoffs here. And we'll get to everybody's questions. We already have questions, Gilbert, from our viewers, which is
I like it.
awesome. Our community is growing. I put out a question today about concerns about going into the last two games of the season. We've gotten some responses there as well, but we got a lot to get into in this episode of as we preview this matchup between the Giants and Rams. We got you covered. With our usual stuff. We have uh, our latest news and notes from this Rams and Giants matchup. We'll see. There's not a lot on the Rams injury report, but there is a long list for the Giants who are coming off having a short week. But at least they're staying close by. They didn't have to travel that far to Philadelphia. But we'll get into player matchups. And like I said, we got player matchups. We got our keys to the game, and then of course our predictions, Gilbert. But you got something for the folks there to kind of get us going here.
Yeah.
You have an engagement question, so why don't you give that to the folks?
Yeah, if you're new here, like Joe, I see right here, first time shout out to Joe. Welcome. Everybody's welcome here on House of Horns. We like to start off the show with doing an engagement question of the week. And the big topic, all of a sudden, Puka Nacua in the race with CJ Stroud for Offensive Rookie of the Year. For a bit, it seemed like it's going to be CJ Stroud. Don't even talk about it, no discussion. And then, unfortunately, for CJ Stroud, he got hurt, hasn't played the past two games, but that's an opportunity for Puka Nacua. He made the most of it. He's been balling out 164 receiving yards against the Saints there, a touchdown, a nice jet sweep to close it out. So, Puka Nacua, here's the question. I've been long-winded. If Puka Nacua sets the record, breaks the record for rookie receiving yards, I want to say Bill Groman, 1960. I memorized it. 1475 receiving yards. You could double check me if I'm correct or wrong. And then Puka Nacua's at 1327 receiving yards with 2 games to go. It'd be nice if he does it in 16, but then Bill Groman probably playing a 14-game season. Who the heck knows? Uh,
Yeah,
will double check that. But
Yeah, I got you,
yeah,
Gilbert. Here, let me give you what he has, and then what Bill Gorman had. Bill Gorman had 1,473 yards,
not close.
and then Puka Nacua is at 1,327, which means that he needs about 147 to break the record there. Now, as you said, well,
Yeah.
I'll get into it later on because I got something that I
Okay.
want to talk about in this Rams and Giants storylines. But yeah,
Well, that's the question.
he there you go. I mean,
Uh,
he's about.
I was gonna say real quick, Victor. Actually in the comments right here in the live, you want give us an answer. I'm sure I feel like people put bias aside for a second. Like really think about it if you want. But I know people are gonna be making a vote for Puka Nacua. Sean McVay voted for Puka Nacua. He did give CJ Stroud a shout out at the press conference. So let me know in the live comments or you watch the replay. Should Puka Nacua be the offensive rookie of the year if he breaks the receiving record? Or maybe you're thinking it doesn't even matter. This guy's been balling doing blocking, jet sweeps, receiving, whatever you ask of him. It shouldn't be a quarterback awards. So let me know in the comments, replay or the live. And also, if you're an audio, get over to YouTube. But also, if you're an audio, rate and review Apple Podcast, Spotify. We will definitely love the good positive review. If you don't like the show, that's okay too.
Gilbert, before we get to our promos and we give people our everything we got going on across the Compas on the B network, let me go ahead and let me put this on here from AMS. It says, if the Rams clinch the playoffs Sunday, do the Rams rest their stars? I don't think so, but this gets into the question that I kind of wanted to kind of start this show off before we get into the preview. And that has to do with what we saw in that 49ers and Ravens. What does that say about the Rams now that we saw the Ravens just blow out the 49ers? Are you more confident about this Rams team? What has this told you, Gilbert, who you cover this whole league? You know how things change from week to week, but what was your biggest takeaway in terms of for the Rams?
Yeah, like the way I'll try to think about it, people here on House of Horns are reminding me it's a week to week league. Anybody could be beating on any given Sunday. I know it's a cliche, but this year it seems like it's very true. So I don't want to kind of take too much away from common opponents. But what the Rams did to go into Baltimore with a, people say maybe less talented team, inexperienced team, a younger team, and to take it to the Ravens like that, who came off a bye week. Let's not forget that. They're well rested, and to push them into overtime. Unfortunately, the Rams couldn't pull it off because that the punt return. And yeah, I know there was a couple flags that were not called on that punt return for the Ravens to win. I think it was 30, what was it, 36-31. I forget. It could have been maybe 37-31. But it was a battle, one of the best games of the year. And for the Ravens to go into Santa Clara and beat up on the 49ers, and that final score was a little deceiving. It was a blowout. That game was over by the third quarter. I was already writing my story. It was on Christmas Day, or Christmas night. So I'm glad the game was over because I get to, not work as much on Christmas night. But yeah, there's something to it. I feel like maybe because, a couple people have reminded me here again on the show here that, hey, maybe the Rams are just, surging at the right time. They're peaking right now. And maybe, the 49ers had their little moment there. And now it's time for the little kind of little cliff right there. We saw with the Eagles. We saw even the 49ers had one earlier this year. We've seen it with the Cowboys now. So if you're going up, 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 up before the playoffs, maybe there's something to that. And we'll see week 18, and we'll get to those scenarios in a bit too.
Yeah, and I mean, honestly, for me, Gilbert, it made what I've been saying for a while now, for a couple of weeks now, that I think the Rams have the best shot to, play with the 49ers. Like they match up the best in the NFC outside of the Ravens, of course. And for me, that's what it solidified, that the fact that if the Rams, get to face the 49ers in the playoffs, I think they match up well. And that was the biggest thing that I took away from that game was like, okay, now that we've seen the Ravens go into the 49ers and blow them out. I mean, and that was one of the things when we did the preview for the Ravens and Rams, we kept hearing from Raven fans, hey, you guys are, the Rams are going to get blown out, and they stayed with them. They should have won that game, as you said, outside of some bad special teams there. But you know, I- going back now to this preview as we get ready, the Rams are 8-7, and just want to let the people who are commenting. We'll get to your comments. We have plenty to get to on this show, so don't worry. I will get to your comments before we as we go along on this show. So just want to get back to it. We have a lot going on with this episode, and the Rams are 8-7. There's some scenarios that I can give you right now, Gilbert. So in order for them to clinch a playoff berth, the Rams number one would need to win and need Seattle to lose. Then the other one is the Rams win, and then Green Bay and Minnesota tie. And then also, if they beat the Giants, they have an 88% chance of getting into the playoffs. So we're here, week 17. Not a lot of people expected us to be talking about playoff scenarios, but it's down to two things. It's not like a whole list, Gilbert.
Yeah. I honestly thought it was gonna be like Rams need to beat the Giants and the Packers need to lose to the Vikings because that tiebreaker right there disadvantage that the Packers have on the Rams. So when I saw if Seattle loses, I'm like better for Rams fans. They have a rivalry with the Seahawks there, so it could be a good weekend for the Rams if they handle business. Key phrase there: handle the business there in New York or New Jersey to be exact, and then maybe get some help from the Steelers who got a little bump there of energy from Mason Rudolph. The Seahawks have been up and down, but they do get the Steelers at home, and they've won two in a row. They saved their season against the Eagles on Monday Night Football. They beat the Titans. They had to come back for that one, a game winning drive. But maybe it's the best scenario. Rams handle business and see if the Steelers could help out there a bit.
Yeah, it was weird. Like when we were done recording on Thursday night, the Rams had a 78% chance of making the playoffs, and then by the end of the week, it was down to under right around 70% because a bunch of teams ended up winning. So the Rams didn't get any help, and like I've been saying, don't wait on other people to help you. You need to take care of business, and that'll be something that they need to do going forward is take care of business. But Gilbert, we have some business to take care of when it comes to promos here.
Yeah.
What can people check out that we have going on across the Compas on the Beat network?
Yeah, first of all, I appreciate the new subscribers. We got a little bump over the weekend. People checked out the videos that I got from the Rams locker room. I was there at SoFi Stadium, Rams versus Saints. I was covering the game for Sports Illustrated. If you don't know who I am, my full name is Gilberto Manzano, but you call me Gilbert or Gil. But and I covered the NFL for Sports Illustrated, and I finally got to go to a Rams game. It's been a minute. I think the last one I went to might have been Rams Eagles. So it's been a long time. So to be in that locker room, talk to Kyron Williams, Puka Nacua, um, videos like we got videos off of that. We got a little bump off subscribers. I think we're now like at 782. Yeah, something like that.
Yeah,
So
it goes up. It's either 783 or 782.
well, hopefully we get to 800, maybe after tonight or maybe by the end of the week. And the point being of me bringing that up is actually no. Before I get to that one, before I talk about the Puka Nacua jersey giveaway, we're trying to get to the Super Bowl, and for Radio Row, we've been very lucky to do that the last 2 years. Help the Compas get to Super Bowl Radio Row. I think it's looking good. Pretty optimistic about it. But if we get there, obviously cost of for housing, equipment, doing interviews in person. Hopefully, maybe get a Rams player on the show. That kind of adds up a little bit. So if you're interested in helping out, no pressure. I know it's December or about to be January, so a tough time of year. But check out the link in the description for a PayPal link. You could donate there. We have a couple people already donated. Shout out to you. We really appreciate the support. Doesn't have to be a big donation. Or if you enjoy the live shows that we do a super chat, super sticker. I think it's like a button somewhere there on the right side for a super something. But regardless of what kind of super chat, sticker, or like you want to do, it goes and helps out the network. We're under Compas on the Beat Network. We have House of Horns, we have What's Up Boats, and we have Combat Compas. So we appreciate all the support on the network growing. And yeah, anything you can do to help us out there, no worries, no pressure. But we got one more thing, right, Victor? The Puka Nacua jersey giveaway. And Joe, I saw you're new here, so here is pretty much the thing to get there is help us get to 1,000 subscribers. Once we get to 1,000 subscribers on the channel here, House of Horns to be exact, we're gonna give away one Puka Nacua jersey, your choice of color, size, things like that. We'll announce a winner once we get to 1,000. So the faster we get to 1,000, we'll give away this Puka Nacua jersey. So please tell your friends, families, Rams fans, people that love football. Hey, subscribe to House of Horns, and that'll be a big help there too as well. But the way to enter for this giveaway, keep doing what you're doing, keep watching the show here, and maybe in 10 minutes, maybe 15, maybe 20 minutes, we'll drop a key phrases for the Puka Nacua jersey giveaway. When you see the keywords there, drop it in the live chat or even in the comments on the replay. You'll get one entry to the Puka Nacua jersey giveaway. If you want to, put up my email when you can, Victor there. Give us the time and the keywords in that. Send it to me in an email. Gilbert with the no, Gilberto at compasonthebeat.com, and you'll get 2 entries to the Puka Nacua jersey giveaway. I think that's everything.
Yeah, there we go. I mean, that was a lot to get through, Gilbert, but we appreciate you giving out the folks all the information to be able to get a Puka Nacua jersey. So that's pretty cool. He's been balling, and it's just all we're asking for is just subscribe, like. One other thing that I've been seeing, Gilbert, is that we got some new subscribers and they're starting to go through some of our videos and they're putting in the old keywords. So I don't know if you've
Oh,
seen
really?
that.
Okay.
Yes, I've seen House of Horns on some of them. So that's been pretty cool to see. Like, you might need to go back and give
Okay.
them credit for those.
Yeah, I got to do
And
another
then
update.
just a quick thing here, Gilbert. I've been getting asked where they can find me as well. It's the
Yeah.
same thing as Gilbert's. It's Victor at Compas on the Beat. Send any questions you got, any Rams questions, which we got one via Twitter, which we'll go over later on, and that's when I'll get to some of the other questions.
Yeah.
So hang on tight. I'm seeing your comments. I'll get to them. But just if you want to send in any questions, go ahead and let me know on there, and we'll get them on the show. Whenever as we go forward here, Gilbert.
Yeah, and
So
just to add to
go ahead.
that, Victor, it'd be pretty cool. We have like a mailbag with Victor. So you see that email, Victor at compasonthebeat.com for people on the audio. You just want to have a nice conversation with Victor. He does a great job of keeping tabs on the Rams on the daily. Anything you need to know, or you just want to have a conversation, and we're not on live right now, go send Victor an email. I'm sure he'll respond, and then maybe eventually we can make it like a weekly thing. Victor answers from the mailbag for House of Horns.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, especially as we get, after the season when people have a lot of things they want to get off their chest. They want to know about the off season, what the Rams are gonna do. That's when we are gonna be able to answer those questions. But Gilbert, let's get to Rams and Giants news and notes, plus the injury report. Let me start off with the injury report. There's only two guys on the injury report, and that was Trey Tomlinson with the hamstring and offensive lineman Joe Noteboom with the foot again. So they did not practice. It doesn't look good like they'll be able to play on Sunday. So I mean, outside of that, it's pretty good. They only got two players on the injury report, Gilbert.
Yes, that's a good thing to have. I guess this late in the game, two regular season games to go, and even well, I guess a couple guys maybe on IR they could come back and help out, but like your key players are all available, ready to go. So it's a good time right now for the Rams. But obviously, football is a grueling sport, and hopefully it stays that way for the Rams.
Yeah, and just to continue on with news and notes, Gilbert. Right as we hopped on, we got the news that Torrey Holt is a finalist for the Pro Football Hall of Fame class of 2024. So that's really cool to see. Hopefully, he finally gets in. He was part of the St. Louis Rams, the greatest show on turf. I know there's been a lot of Ram fans who have been pushing for him to be a Hall of Famer. Do you think he gets in finally?
I hope so. I think he's done enough. He has the numbers. He has a Super Bowl ring, part of a historic, memorable Super Bowl champions of the '99 Rams there. So definitely, hopefully he gets in. I think like I mentioned, numbers, rings, and I think the crappy part with Torrey Holt, he's not as remembered like when you have to think about Randy Moss and To and guys like that. But it shouldn't be a popularity contest. It should be numbers and did you win? Did you make an impact in the game? I think Torrey Holt did.
Yeah, and I mean, there's a reason why his Twitter says it has hands in there because he had one of the best hands in football during his time. I mean, or of all time. I mean, that guy would make spectacular catches, and he made him look easy, but it's not that easy to do. Moving on, Gilbert. Puka Nacua was the NFC Player of the Week after his ninth catch, 164-yard performance, one touchdown, and 180 scrimmage yards. So well deserved. And it goes to the question we asked: Is he the Rookie of the Year? We'll find out at the end of the season. Next thing is Rams signed long snapper Alex Matheson to their practice squad.
Hmm.
McVay commented after the Saints game about snap issues, and he said Monday that move will create some competition. And the reason I put this in our news and notes, Gilbert, is because we talked about that bad snap. I saw a lot of people just go and say it's time to move on from Lucas Habrasik. I don't. One of the things that people need to remember is the fact that long snappers, especially when one of them gets hurt and goes on IR, and messes up with your timing. And I'm not trying to make excuses for Lucas. Like I'm sure he's a nice guy. I don't know the guy, but when it comes to the kicking game, I know how important it is to have that to have a good you know good long snapper, a good holder, and then a good kicker. So it all works in symphony there. If something's off, it's not going to go well. And we've seen that the last 2 weeks, Gilbert.
Yeah, definitely. People kind of overlook the specialists, but there's a reason why they don't just ask like the lineman to go be the long snapper, or just ask any like the backup quarterback to be the holder. Like these guys better do it every day when they're in the big league. So it has to be in sync, it has to be in rhythm, and and again, it's overlooked, but like it matters, especially when you're trying to win a game, a close game, win a game in playoffs. So, credit to McVay and Les Snead to try to fix it. They could have been like, you know what, it's okay, we're winning these games. Let's kind of just see how it goes. So, we'll see what this long snapper has.
Yeah, and I mean that does it for news and notes, Gilbert, and the injury report. So let's get to some of these comments real quick
All
here.
right.
We already got to AMS in his question. So we got Joe who said this is a first time here. What's up, Ram fans? Hey, what's going on, Joe? Welcome. Like I said, thanks for being here. We really enjoy when people hop on and give us their comments. Here's Joe again. If we got a guarantee spot, should we rest our stars? No doubt. I mean, Gilbert, what do you think?
Yeah, I think there's still a lot to kind of think about, but I don't know. It's tough. Like maybe if the Eagles are number two and the Rams are number seven, are you okay with that matchup going with Philly? Why don't you rather go play the Lions in Detroit? Comfortable environment. They're kind of new to the postseason. You got the entire storyline there for Stafford against the Lions. Obviously, it could still flip. Maybe the Lions go to number two. But I don't really see that happening because the Eagles have the Cardinals and the Giants are probably going to win out and take that number two seed there. So it depends on that. Do you want to see the Eagles? I know it was such a long time ago when the Rams and the Eagles played. It's not the same team, but they didn't really look that well. Like actually, they're kind of opposite ends. Like the Eagles are struggling and the Rams are rising. But that game back then in September or October, they were outclassed there. So I guess maybe you don't want to go into the playoffs thinking, okay, we're afraid of that team, we should avoid that team. But why don't you play to be the higher seed? I don't mind that.
Yeah, and then the other thing too, Gilbert, we've only seen, and we're starting to see those people tweet out or people talk about the fact that Kyron Williams, Matthew Stafford, Puka Nacua, Cooper Kupp have only played in 7 games together, Gilbert. You need to be able to continue to find that chemistry on offense. I get it. They've been scoring over 30 points and each since the bye week, but you want to continue. You don't want to and the other thing you kind of run into, I've seen it a lot where you take the week off, you say, hey, I'm gonna rest my starters in week 18, and then you come out rusty in the first game in the wild card. You want to go full steam ahead. You're playing really good right now. Part of the thing too is like you don't want to go on a bye week, when you're really hot, when you're playing your best. I just wouldn't put it, I understand if you're getting blown out or you're blowing out the 49ers, maybe you take out your stars, but outside of that, I wouldn't rest them in week 18. You have a lot to gain going into week 18. So I'm with you. Joe said I knew Puka was good, but damn, not that damn good. He is made for the NFL. And one of the things we've talked about, Gilbert, is combine speed as opposed to the speed that you play on the football field, on grass or on turf. And Puka Nacua has shown the fact that, hey, I was, I saw his 40 time and even his cone drill, he ranked way down there from a lot of the participants. But that goes to show you that what you do in the combine and what you show on the field is two separate things.
Yeah, and first of all, if you disagree with one of our takes, we aren't sensitive. So put in the comments, hey, no, like, what if somebody gets hurt in week 18? You guys are wild for that one, but yeah, just we encourage conversation here. And going off the Puka comment here from Joe, like when I wrote about Puka in the summer, I got a lot of pop from people from BYU or BYU football fans, and I saw the comments, and apparently a few people were saying like, if the guy was healthy or play a little more games for BYU, like he probably would have, been a not maybe not a first round pick, but maybe a day two pick, not a fifth round pick. Like all these people from BYU are saying, we're not surprised about his success. This guy was a stud. Also, who's very close with Dana White of the UFC. So that's an interesting story there, right there, Puka Nacua. But yeah, he's so good that he is pushing CJ Stroud, who's having one of the best rookie seasons for a quarterback. So it's a conversation. It's not a runaway here. So that tells you, how good Puka. Like if this was a different year, Puka would probably be the for sure number one rookie of the year candidate. But to be pushing a quarterback who was once regarded as the MVP before the injury, so that says a lot about his success.
Yeah, and I'm with you. I mean, it's a lot to credit to him because he's put in the work. We saw him in training camp, but I mean, what he's been doing to be on the brink of breaking the rookie receiving record just goes to show you. And the kid just loves playing football. I think that's been the best thing about it is he. I think you were telling me that when he was setting up for the post game show or the post game interview, he was like, "Oh, you guys are here for me. Like, you guys want to talk to me." So,
Yeah.
I mean, he's still like, it's week 17, and he's still like so humble, Gil.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it was the first man because I haven't really kept up, but he was supposed to talk in a scrum, and it was a big group because it was Thursday night football and the Rams were doing well, so I think there was more media than usual, and we're all waiting. He's like, "Really? Like this is for me?" And kind of he looked like he was a little shy about it, and then he talked with the Rams PR people, and they took him to the actual podium, so a bigger setting, a bigger room for reporters, and I'm like, he has a big room now for interview. That's where Matthew Stafford and Sean McVay go. So if you see a certain player on the podium like that, that tells you that he was in high demand for interviews that day for sure.
Yeah. All right, we got some more here from Johnny G, one of our favorites. He joins us on every channel, so Sean McVay needs to stay awake and not choke this game away. I mean, that's I somebody was talking about that in that the collapses. I mean, I think that's the big concern going into the last two games, Gilbert.
Yeah, I liked how McVay was joking with the with reporters, saying like, if I didn't go for that fourth down on the opening drive and settle for a field goal in the red zone, you guys would give me a lot of crap. So now I don't have to hear it. So he's aware of people's criticism, and so far I think he's done a good job in the last month for sure. I know Johnny G's he has a high standard and he's tough on McVay or McBabe he called him, but
Yeah,
I think he's doing a good job so far, at least in the
yeah.
last month.
Yeah. Here we got Joe again. It says they think they might give DeVito one more shot. There's talk that he's going to sit out, and I'm confused what they're doing. And we'll get into that one, Joe, because Tyrod Taylor has been named the starter for this week against the Rams. And from what I've heard, we'll talk about it during our storylines. There's a reason why they're doing this, and I don't think we're going to see. Uh, DeVito again this season, Gilbert. But we'll get into it when we get to storylines. And then Joe just said, "I just subscribed to this show. Where are you two from?" Go ahead, Gilbert, and then I'll go ahead and say,
Sounds like I'm getting banged on, but I don't think that's what he means. But we are from, at least I am. I'm from Pasadena, California, and I don't live too far from Victor. I'm currently living in Northridge, so but from Pasadena, California, born and raised in SoCal.
"Yeah, I'm from the 818 here. I've lived all my life, born in Los Angeles, but I've lived in the San Fernando Valley the majority of my life. So, yeah, we're both LA guys here. He's Gilbert covers the NFL for Sports Illustrated, and then I produce Compas on the Beat. I do a lot of stuff on the show, so you'll see me here and there. But we decided Gilbert was covering the Rams last season, and so he asked me to join him while we covered the we created the show House of Horns, and now we're here. We're on our second season. Gilbert's now covering the whole NFL. And so it's been quite the ride. We've almost had 1,000 subscribers as we talked about it, and yeah, here's Jerry Guevara. Top down, strengths versus weakness, respectively, offense, defense, and then special teams. Is the offense strong enough to overcome deficiencies in the defense, DVs, and safeties, and
Yeah,
special teams? What do you
yeah.
say?
That's a good question, Jerry, because I've been a little concerned with the deep passes on the secondary. We got to also remember they are pretty inexperienced, and I think it's a credit to Raheem Morris having people to buy into the scheme, kind of playing together. But there is kind of a talent issue there with the defense compared to the offense, and yeah, sometimes you can win these games in a shootout, but I don't see the Rams as being very one-sided. I think Raheem Morris has an underrated defense, but the special teams is definitely a problem there. That could be something that could be an issue in the playoffs or even the next 2 weeks. But when you have an offense that's clicking like that, 28 points or more in the past 5 games, and 4 of them out of 5 have been over 30 points, like Could really help you out when you have some miscues like that, especially for such a young roster. And it could be good and bad being a young roster, and we'll get into it too in a bit. But having an explosive offense and a pretty good defense, I'll say they're a little above average. And I'm not saying they're like top 12 or anything like that, but that goes well in today's NFL, where you got to have something. You can't just be a nobody. Like for a bit, the Lions had like a nothing on defense. They've turned the corner the last 2 weeks, but
Yeah.
if you're asking your offense to get 40 points, that's a problem. So I think right now getting 30 and then holding an opponent to like 20 points, it's doable for these Rams.
Yeah, and Raheem Morris is starting to get love around the NFL from a lot of people. Like I saw Ted Wynn's a story today where if you don't know who Ted Wynn, he breaks down coaches and how they go, whether they did well or or didn't do well. And he gave a shout out to Raheem Morris this week in terms of how he dictated how the Saints were going to play against him or against his defense, and he's done a great job. I know a lot of people, a lot of Ram fans have been critical of him about him not putting a lot of pressure, and sometimes you don't need pressure. Sometimes you have to dictate how you want the opposing offenses to play, and he's done a great job of doing that. And he's had a lot of moving parts, Gilbert. And I think one of the things we've talked about is how aggressive he's been at the line of scrimmage with his secondary, and we're starting to see. I mean, Darion Kendrick. I know that a lot of people were asking, hey, why is he still playing? Well, he got benched for last week, so I mean, you're starting to see the changes, and you're starting to see why Raheem Morris, is going to be coveted this offseason.
Yeah, and I know people expect more blitzing, but they just don't have the personnel for that. Like obviously, you see flashes from Byron Young, and obviously in the interior you got Kobe Turner, and then Michael Hoyt's still trying to figure out how to play edge rusher. He was a defensive tackle last year, so I think the beginning part of the season was like making sure everybody's on the same collective unit, working within the scheme. Kind of making the creating advantages for yourself in the defense, and then and now you could tell he's kind of experimenting a little more. And also, they don't have a lot of depth too, so you kind of had to keep holding on to Darren Kendrick, hoping he'll break out of it. And now you're seeing some kind of tweaking, especially these matchups this late in the game are all about who has it up here, who could kind of create more advantages for them. So Raheem Morris did a great job in that Saints game, and the final score is deceiving. Again, they haven't got that closer mentality just yet, but they're up pretty big, especially they responded after the Shaheed touchdown.
Yeah, and I think that's been their bugaboo is just getting beat deep the last two couple of weeks, whether it's been McLaurin, it was OBJ, and then last week with Shaheed, as you said. And I mean, I'm sure that's something that they'll work on. And part of the changes that we've seen defensively, I think who was the player? Was it Quinton Lake who Sean McVay was raving about, right? Post game.
Yeah. Was it this past game? Yeah, I
Yeah,
forget.
against
But
the Saints.
yeah, you're right. And they keep talking about him like when he was hurt, like, yeah, we're hoping to get him back. So guys like that gotta step up. Obviously, we think about the special rookies when you got Puka, Avila, or even the second year guy in Kyron Williams, but you need guys like Kobe Durant to step up. You need Quinton Lake to step up, Russ Cheese to step up. So they invested a lot, obviously not high capital, draft capital on these DBs, but other guys are stepping up as a fifth round draft pick, mostly on offense. You need the defense to do it too.
Yeah. All right, we got two more, Gilbert. AMS is back and says Puka has a brother named Samson who was drafted by the Colts, and
I think
yeah,
he has multiple brothers. He has more
yeah,
than
he's
like
got a
one of
couple
them
of
played
brothers.
with Ufanga. I remember when I caught up with him in the locker room, and like he was happy to see what the younger Nakua has been doing.
Yeah, and there's a reason why his name is Puka because he's the baby of the group there. And then Joe says he was not talking about banging, just wondering. I'm not from the IE area,
Nice.
so shout out to you,
Yeah.
Joe.
Well, just
There you
kidding,
go.
Joe. I know what you
You're,
meant, but
uh,
I wanted to do a terrible joke, and I'm glad you got
Yeah,
it.
yeah, there we go. All right, Gilbert. Well, I was gonna ask you a question, but we need to get to Rams and Giants storylines.
Yeah,
We'll get to that question another time. But Rams and Giants storylines, Gilbert. What do you got for the Giants here? And I'm
yeah.
guessing you're gonna start off with a change at quarterback for the Giants.
Yeah, so the Giants are going back with Tyrod Taylor, formerly of the Bills, formerly of the Texans, formerly of the Charger. He's been around the game, Ravens too as well. So I think Tyrod Taylor, kind of gives them more stability. A veteran who like he's not known for pushing the ball down the field, but he's known for being your stereotypical game manager. I know it's a big debate right now, but he knows how to run an offense. He knows how to protect the football. He won't push it. He'll frustrate you, but he knows how to run an offense. And we saw they played better in the second half under Tyrod Taylor, or is it Tyrod Taylor? I'm gonna say
Rod
Tyrod,
Taylor, yeah.
but I like to say Tyrod, but I don't think he cares. So there you go. We've asked before. I've even asked him before when he was playing with the Chargers. Yeah, but I think after a while, Brian Dable got frustrated with Tommy DeVito, and it was a great story. Like it was one of these things where, well, I'm gonna ride the hot hand. He's making plays out. He wasn't playing spectacular. He wasn't like out of this world, but hey, people loved him. He kind of he provided energy in the locker room, and then he only got 6 points against the Saints. The Saints, as we saw, don't have the best defense, and they couldn't move the ball. Then you're playing the Eagles again, and then another a first half of kind of like nothing, and yeah, he got frustrated. Brian Dable was that's credit to him. He wants to have an efficient offense. He doesn't want to just tank for a draft pick. He's been frustrated with Daniel Jones earlier in the year when it was like last year. It was working with Daniel Jones. This part of the season, this the first half, it wasn't. He threw a tablet. So he's just a tough guy with a high standard, and he's a great offensive mind. So the DeVito experience, like even when people kept trying to talk to him, like what was that one week where a reporter went and said, "Hey, he kind of reminds you of Tom Brady." How Brian Dable, Tommy DeVito? And he's like, "No, no, don't even go there. It's Tom freaking Brady." So I'm not surprised that Brian Dable benched someone he wasn't producing. He's not committed to the guy. Same thing with Tyrod Taylor. But that tells me that they're in to win the game. They're not trying to tank for a better pick. I don't think Brian Dable was like that. But yeah, we'll see what Tyrod Taylor does. He gave him a boost. He actually I criticized him for not pushing the ball, but he had a nice long touchdown to Darius Slayton. He had a couple too, maybe in the preseason to I'm blanking on the rookie's name from Tennessee. Oh, there you go,
Oh,
Jalen Hyatt.
Hyatt. Jalen Hyatt.
Hyatt. So he has a couple passes there where he goes down the field. I'm not even sure if Darren Waller's healthy. Victor, he never really is, but they
Nope.
also kind of rely on Saquon Barkley a lot too. So you know it's not the best offense, but they at least have a nice game manager with a good play caller with the headset, and then you got a good running back behind Tyrod Taylor.
Yeah, and I mean defensively, you still have dudes like Kayvon Thibodeau. You got, which we'll talk about later on, along that defensive line as well. And you got Wink Martindale running that defense. So
Yeah,
and this has been I've been telling you now for a couple weeks that I've been, as someone who has been following this Rams team, closely this past year, my biggest concern, as we kind of projected to see where the Rams might be and what games they needed to win, the one that concerned me was this one because, as we talked about, having to go east is never easy. Now, Sean McVay has some ridiculous record where he's 14-5 or 14-6 on the Eastern time zone. So he prepares his team for having to go on the East Coast. So he's done this before. So I'm sure McVay's gonna have them prepared. But then you run into just weird things when it comes late in the season, Gilbert. We've been seeing it the last couple of weeks where you see the Patriots beating the Broncos when they're trying to get into the playoffs. Now, Russell Wilson gets benched. It's just weird things happen on the East Coast, and you just want to make sure you take care of business. So that's been my biggest thing with this Giants game is I wouldn't underestimate them if I'm a Rams fan because crazy ish always happens when you have to go east. So that's my biggest thing, Gilbert.
yeah. These Giants beat the Packers not too long ago, and that benefited the Rams in the playoff standings there. So there's a reason why they won 3 games with Tommy DeVito, and I think for that defense is it's up and down, but they're actually kind of tough. I know Adoree Jackson, formerly of USC or went to USC, at that 76-yard pick six there. So you know how to turn points defensively too as well. They have Kayvon Thibodeau too, a good edge rusher there. So some good linebackers. Okariki, I think I'm butchering his name, Bobby. But they have some playmakers, offense and defense, and they're well coached, so it could be a dangerous team. And for such a young roster with the Rams, like I know we think about Stafford and Kupp and Donald and Sean McVay being the head coach. They have plenty of experience. They won the freaking Super Bowl 2 years ago. but we can't forget about how many first year guys, second year guys, late round draft picks, or undrafted free agents. So, you know, when they went to Baltimore and they got up for that game, impressive. You're a young team and you went toe to toe with the best team in the NFL. I could say that now after they beat the 49ers, but it won't have the same kind of I guess, the sexy appeal when you play the Giants. Maybe when you know in the back of your mind you win the game, you're probably making the playoffs. That's a lot to be getting up for. So it's a reach here, I think, on my part here to say, hey, it could be a trap game, but they're still a young roster. They're trying to figure out how to close out a team, and then you see all these upsets week to week in the NFL. The Raiders beating the Chiefs on Christmas Day. There's, I feel like, an upset every single week on Monday Night Football. The Titans beating the Dolphins. So you just never know. But it's been good signs here of this team getting up and playing every single week. They got to close better, obviously, but other than that, I think that they're in a good spot.
Yeah, and this kind of leads to the question here from Jesse Balades. It says, "Can you expand on with a win next game where we stand?" Solid answer. And it's pretty easy, honestly. You win your next two games, you're in. And as we said earlier, Gilbert, let me look for it. Let me get so the
Yeah,
Rams, if they can clinch a playoff berth if they win and Seattle loses. So you're automatically in, no matter what. With the win over the Giants and a loss by the Seahawks against the Steelers, you're in. That you clinch the playoff berth. Scenario number two is the Rams win, and then you get a tie between the Vikings and the Packers, which I don't
a
think
little
is
hard.
going to happen. It's hard to see a tie, but that's where they stand right now. So either you win your next two games, or then you're hoping that the Seattle loses one of those two games in the next 2 weeks, Gilbert.
Yeah, and then to kind of maybe have more thought about not benching, but resting your players in week 18. Like obviously clinch a playoff spot, be number the sixth seed, but you want also the Seahawks to lose, which will occur if they clinch it. But like maybe you want the Vikings to beat the Packers because you know in the back of your mind that the Packers have that tiebreaker over the Rams. The Rams and the Vikings didn't play each other. I got to look at the other tiebreakers there. But if you want, if it could be a scenario where maybe they're locked into the sixth seed. I don't think there's really an option for that. Could be something there. But to answer your question, kind of a better answer, Jesse. Obviously, we gave you the scenarios, but you're still going to be locked in fighting between 6 or 7. And if you win out, obviously you get the sixth seed there. But it's going to be a tough question for McVay if everything works out this way. They clinch a playoff spot, and they have to go into week 18 with the 49ers. Like the thing about that too is like, they don't have to worry about playing the 49ers 2 weeks in a row because if the 49ers are playing for the number one seed, and they win, they get the number one, you avoid them anyways. If the Rams win, then they're gonna be the sixth seed, probably playing the Lions. So things like that. But we're getting too far ahead. I think the
Yeah.
easiest way to say is Seahawks lose, Rams win, they're in the playoffs.
Yeah, and I mean it just that's all it is. You have to take care of your own business. Don't worry about other teams trying to help you out. And then the reason the Seahawks is a big important why they're a big important team here is because they keep winning now. Had they lost to to the Eagles, the Rams would have been in already, but it's because the Rams hold the tiebreaker over them where they have the advantage. The problem is they can't afford to lose any more games if you're the Rams. And the Seahawks have the easier path with the two remaining games that they have, as opposed to the Rams having to go to Santa Clara and win there. We got our guy Dever Salgado says just joined in. I'm sure Los Gigantes are going to bring
Yeah.
it. I'm out. Go Rams. HNY. Happy New Year. Happy
Oh
New Year
man.
to you too, Delbert. Hey,
Happy New
he's
Year,
always
Delbert.
joining us, and what is he? He's on the live and he's on the
Yeah.
Looking Ahead show. So
Yeah.
shout out to Delbert.
And real quick, and now, what if I think if the Packers, like say you get both scenarios, the Seahawks lose, the Rams win, Packers and Vikings end in a tie, you might be just locked into the sixth seed. I'm trying to figure out a way where they lock into the number six, and then you really don't have to play anything in week 18.
Yeah.
So that'd be kind of a hard scenario to do, though.
Yeah, and Gilbert, there's still a lot to go. Like I was going through it today, where in which I'm gonna talk about in Looking Ahead show, because I got something planned for you there. And when it comes to a question, and it has to do with the Lions are still in for the number one seed, believe it or
Yeah,
not.
actually, yeah.
Yeah,
With the
and
Cowboys.
so are the Browns. I mean, that's crazy to think about. And here we are, everybody's just they're saying either the Eagles or the 49ers are going to get the 1 seed. But if the Lions beat the Cowboys in this week, and then they go and win again, and then either and I think all they need is the Niners to lose one more game. So let's say the Rams beat the 49ers in week 18,
Yeah.
and that means the Lions get the number 1 seed. So I mean, there's a lot of scenarios.
I
That's
just
why
don't see it
we
happening because the 49ers play the
yeah,
Commanders next week, but it could
yeah,
be, and then the Lions have to beat the Cowboys, and which is possible. So it could be something there. So I think that's why I brought up to you, Victor, via text. Like maybe week 18 could be a very intriguing game if number
yeah.
one's on the line, and then if you're the Rams, do you want to knock them off the number 1 seed, which would be kind of fun? And if they do, say they'll be number 6 anyway. So if they beat them, you knock off the rival from the number 1 seed, and then you go play maybe who would it be? Maybe the Eagles or something like that. But
Yeah.
all very fun scenarios there. I think we're gonna be headed for a Week 18 showdown where both teams play their starters.
They're
But
playing for they're playing for
first beat the
something.
Giants. First beat
And
the Giants.
it'll be we'll talk about this after whatever happens with the Giants game, but it'll be something to talk about in terms of do the Rams and 49ers matchup. Is that the Sunday night football game as the last game of the season? Like that's the final one. So that's another thing you have to keep in mind. Jesse Balades, plain spoiler, we must keep our playoff push alive, Rams all day. And then we got the Warm. He usually joins us here. Greetings from Milwaukee. Hoping Green Bay gets taken out because they're playing better. And when the Rams come here, well, yeah. I mean, I don't think the Rams are going to go to Green Bay. But you're just because Green Bay beat the Rams, you don't want to end up with the same record. So
Yeah.
that's the other thing. They have the tiebreaker there. So as to where the
Yeah.
Rams have the tiebreaker over the Seahawks, Green Bay has a tiebreaker over the Rams.
I mean,
So
Green Bay
there's
has to worry about the Vikings in Minnesota, and they don't have their best cornerback because he had a boneheaded mistake in Jair Alexander. So maybe it's a good thing for the Rams.
yeah. All right, Gilbert. So my I'm gonna for our Rams Giant storyline. So I'm gonna take care of the Rams, and I'm gonna say something now that you know I think it's pretty obvious by now, but I know there's been a lot of questions, and that has to do that with Matthew Stafford, and I think he's has solidified himself as a he has solidified his Hall of Fame resume with another record-breaking receiver. Now, let me give you some names and let me give you some stats here to kind of think about. Calvin Johnson broke the receiving yards record in 2012 with 1,964 yards. In 2021, Cooper Kupp won the Triple Crown for receivers with 145 catches, 1,947 yards, and 16 touchdowns. And this season, Puka Nacua is on the brink of breaking Bill Groman's rookie receiving record of 1,473. He sits at 1,327, and he needs 147 yards to break the record. You know what the common thing is there? Is it
Oh,
is that
Stafford.
Matthew Stafford was throwing the ball to all three of those guys, and I know people are gonna say, well, when he was in Detroit, he didn't have much. He was just throwing to dudes, and he was just putting up stats, empty stats, that no one cared about, and he had a bad record when he was with the Lions. Let me give you one other thing. During Stafford's time in Detroit, he had a rusher go over 100 yards 11 times, Gilbert, in 12 years. 11 times in 12 years. Let me say that again. It's happened 8 times in the last 3 years with the Rams, including the last 3 games with Kyron Williams. Gilbert, he had never had a running back over 100 yards in consecutive games until the past 3 games with Kyron Williams. I mean, that is I when I read that and I saw that, I had to go back and check it just to make sure, and it just tells you that now he has a Super Bowl. He's got 55,000, you know passing yards. He's got 300 and something. What does he have? He's thrown for 55,000 yards. He has 356 touchdowns in his career. Stafford is currently fifth all time in passing yards per game and was also the fastest player in NFL history to reach 40,000 career passing yards, Gilbert. I
Yeah,
mean,
pretty
he's won the
impressive.
Sup- he's won the Super Bowl. What more is there for him to accomplish? And I know a lot of people are saying, well, he needs to win a second Super Bowl. I think with that stat that I just gave you about the three different receivers and then being breaking record receiving guys, I think that pretty much if he goes and he shows that to the committee, that should get him in the Hall of Fame. But I just think that I, Matthew Stafford, and I wasn't a big fan of his before he got to the Rams. I thought the same thing. I thought, hey, he's a guy that has been able to put up a lot of stats on a bad team. But then I had to go back and you saw what he did with Calvin Johnson, what he's done with Cooper Cup, and now what he's done with Puka Nacua. He's a difference maker, and now you're starting to see it. Like one thing you want going into the playoffs is to have a good coach and a good quarterback, and the Rams have both, and that's why they're dangerous. But it also says that to me is that Stafford, he's going to be in the Hall of Fame eventually. He might not be a first ballot guy, Gilbert, but he deserves to be in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, maybe a second Super Bowl he gets in first ballot, but I think he's done enough to be in the Hall of Fame already. He answered a lot of questions because, like, perfect example this weekend, the Detroit Lions won their first division title in 30 years, their first ever NFC North title because back then in 1993 it was a Central NFC Central division there. So it's been a long time, and so it was crappy before Stafford got there. It was crappy when Stafford was there. So that's why I kind of hate all these arguments about where a quarterback ranks, and it's like, does it really matter? Like at this point, like you should be happy if you're a quarterback, if you're in a good situation, good coaching, a lot of playmakers, just make your life easier. But we're always wasting time. But like, is that like you mentioned, is that guy a difference maker? Would he ball out on a different team? Well, Stafford did both. He balled out on a bad team, put up the stats. He couldn't, it was so bad he couldn't get them to win. He did a couple times there, and obviously there was a controversial playoff game against the Cowboys there, but Calvin Johnson probably isn't in the Hall of Fame. He doesn't have a quarterback like Matthew Stafford. I forget if did Johnson already make it or is he about to make it? I forget.
No,
But
he made it last year.
okay, yeah, sort of was. And then to elevate a good Rams team, a good offensive team with Jared Goff and with Kupp and Woods and McVay and they had a Gurley too. But when he came in, they won Super Bowl in the first year. So that's all he needed was okay. I'm the good quarterback here. Now give me my surroundings. He won the freaking Super Bowl last year. Was more like a Detroit Lions season because of all the freaking injuries. And now he has a balanced attack with Kyron Williams, and he's not locking in on one guy. It's Kupp, Puka, Demarcus Robinson, Tyler Higbee, Davis Allen, Tutu Atwell. So when you're balanced and you have a good quarterback, and I actually was reading, I think yeah, my colleague Albert Bria brought up this point there were like these issues for Kyle Shanahan, like not being able to come back in the fourth quarter. Well, because he doesn't have a quarterback like Stafford, a drop back guy who could just be a pocket assassin and pick people apart. Like he's never really had that, and McVay got one, and that's why he's the one with the ring, and Shanahan isn't.
Yeah, I mean, and they might face a guy, one of their former quarterbacks, in Jared Goff, that was the main thing. Like he had to, I remember there was a big deal made out of the fact that McVay was in his ear, like all the way up to maybe 10 seconds before the play call because he needed to instruct him of what to do. And I think Jared Goff is a lot like like a Brock Purdy. He's just a bigger version of Brock Purdy, but I think part of the problem was that, like you said, he didn't have a strong arm quarterback, someone who can actually make his receivers better, and we've seen it now. I mean, countless times. Like even now with Puka Nacua, I was like, okay, so how is he going to elevate? How is he going to do this without Cooper Cup at the beginning of the season? And look, he elevated Puka Nacua, and you continue to see it with other players. It's when you see it not just with one team, but you see it with another team, and you see it with players, it tells you that that quarterback, there's a reason why he was a number one pick coming out of
Yeah.
Georgia, and sometimes you get stuck in bad situations, and what he got lucky that the Rams traded for him, and it's been one of those trades where it's worked out for both teams. It was a win-win for the Lions, and it was a win-win for the Rams, and that's why we're all hoping that that matchup, we get to see that in the playoffs because it would be fitting to that trade. Here we go. Delbert Salgado says Stafford, Super Bowl MVP, Puka Rookie of the Year, Avila All Pro, and maybe Coach of the Year. So,
Maybe
uh,
rookie all pro team for
yeah,
Avila.
yeah, probably that. I don't think McVay's gonna. McVay was my Coach of the Year candidate for before the season, but I don't think he's gonna win it. Unfortunately, uh, Jesse is back. He says to me, "We are a different team. Half the season, most reporters retire players are serious when they say this. You do not want to play the Rams in the playoffs. They are clicking at the right end, and we've been saying that too, Gilbert. I mean,
Yeah, and
it's it. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, like, what they have is unique because they have a young roster with a bunch of stars, different crop of stars, but they also have the veteran experience of a Super Bowl winning head coach and a Super Bowl winning quarterback. The Buccaneers kind of have something like that because they did win the Super Bowl 2 years or 3 years ago, I think. Yeah, 2020. A lot of the guys are still there, but the Baker Mayfield was in Tom Brady, no Bruce Arians. So like the Rams have a little more experience there, but I was trying to compare. Okay, who has a combination of veterans and young guys, and it's the Rams, and that's why they're so dangerous.
Yeah, and I mean, look at the NFC playoffs. If the playoff picture right now, you have a young head coach with the Eagles and a young quarterback. Yeah, they both made it to the Super Bowl, but they didn't win it. I mean, just go down the list: Mike McCarthy and Dak Prescott. I mean, the Rams are situated, they're in a good spot. Like they either have the good coach or they have the good quarterback. You don't have both. You have both with the Rams here. So that's where the advantage might lie with the only problem, as we've talked about with the Rams, is that they're a young team. And that's the only thing. I mean, they're probably ahead of schedule by 1 year, but once you get into the dance, it doesn't matter, Gilbert. We'll see what happens. Um, and then we got Jerry Sinke here says, well, folks are not remembering here. Rams had no Kupp for the first 4 games, no Williams for the next 4 games. Stafford got hurt during the stupid loss to Green Bay, and we are healthy and clicking. So, I mean, that he's pretty much right on. That's part of the problem. That's why it's a marathon season, and you got to let the games play out. And here we are. Like the Rams are 8-7, and they have a chance to go to the playoffs. And I think they need to worry about getting in the playoffs, and then we'll talk about
Yeah.
how dangerous they can be.
Yeah,
One
and
more here.
Jerry, real quick, the only thing I've gotten right this year, I feel like, was like when I saw Kyron Williams play in the first part of the season, I'm like, that guy's a difference maker. That he makes that offense really good. And when he went out, I'm like, okay, they don't have it anymore. He's the one that we're waiting on, Kyron Williams. So, yeah, when they haven't been playing together, like even when Kupp was struggling to kind of find his role, which is weird to say, when it was Kyron and Puka, like they were still dominant. Now they have Kupp going, so everybody's clicking at the same time. But I think Kyron Williams having that balanced attack there really makes a difference because then Stafford's able to spread the ball around.
Yeah, and I'm gonna all good things. I'm gonna get to this in my player matchups. So stick around, and I'll give you my answer here. And then Jerry Sinke says, if Seattle loses to Pittsburgh and Minnesota loses to Green Bay, we secure the playoffs. Number 6 is not totally secure. We will need following week to have Green Bay lose one more for the Rams to secure. So yeah, we've been talking about it. I think it's gonna be as we've talked about, just win your games, and then that way you control your own. You don't have to wait for other teams to lose, like Seattle and Minnesota, and then have Green Bay lose again. So, that's part of the thing. You control your own destiny here, Gilbert. If you're the Rams, just first off win that at the Giants, and then worry about beating the 49ers. But take it 1 week at a time,
Yeah.
because I think if we get ahead of ourselves, then everybody's going to get disappointed if the Rams don't make the playoffs. So just like I said, I always try to be cautious with these things, because it's we all want to get them to the playoffs already, but the problem is that weird things happen in week 17 and week 18 now. So just I would hold off on that. All right, Gilbert, let's get to we have some keywords that we need to get to here,
Yeah,
Gilbert.
let's get it going right here. We made people wait an hour here. So for the Puka Nacua jersey giveaway, the keywords for this week: Stafford, HOH, Stafford Hall of Fame. So just comment here on the live if you want, or comment on the replay. And as long as I see it, I'll lock you in for one entry for the Puka Nacua jersey giveaway. Just type in Stafford HOH. I got you in. And a lot of people here already, have there's some people that have probably 12 to 15 entries for the Puka Nacua jersey giveaway. We're trying to give this away sooner. So help us get to 1,000 subscribers via Compa, Telecompa. Tell people subscribe. It'd be nice if we get to 800 by tonight or tomorrow. I don't know. It's kind of a little optimistic there, but it'd be cool. But just type it in there, and I see the worm right there. Great job there. I'll lock you in. Stafford HOH. And if you want to take it one step further, Stafford HOH, all good things. That's perfect right there for the name. You want to take it one step further and get 2 entries, send me an email, Gilberto at compasonthebeat.com, Gilbert with the no, compasonthebeat.com, time and keywords. And also give me your YouTube name just in case I make sure it's all correct there. So all good things, and the worm got it covered.
There we go. And then there's Gilberto at compasonthebeat.com. And then you can reach me at Victor at compasonthebeat.com as well. Go ahead and send in any questions you guys might have after. We'll get to them.
Did I put HOH in the banner? My mistakes. I see HOF or HOF. House of Horns.
Yeah, let me put it back up again. Just to, HOH.
I did have House of Horns. Okay, sorry about that, people. HOF, but both is fine. I'm not going to be a stickler for that.
There you go. So there we
Stafford
go.
House of Horns. Maybe one day. That'd be pretty cool. There you go, Jesse. I got people here on the wrong here, but Stafford HOF or HOH are both good.
There you go. You got 4 entries right away there, Gilbert. So people are locked in into what we're doing here. So that's pretty awesome. And like I said, we'll do a mailbag. We'll do a mailbag. So make sure you send us your questions. Send them to me, actually. So just email me here, and then we'll do a mailbag. If you guys have any things, we had Gilbert Dixon send in a question that we didn't get to, but we can do a mailbag. If you guys send me enough questions, we can do a mailbag and go from there. But up next, Gilbert, we got our player matchups. What do you got?
Yeah, for me, and I think I already know how to figure out how to lock in all these comments, but I wanted to write it down just to be safe. But for me, the matchup is Ernest Jones, the linebacker for the Rams. I want to say he's in his 3rd year. Yeah, I think it is. Yeah, 3rd year. He was great in that Super Bowl, and then had to take a back seat to Bobby Wagner, but now is a full-time starter in year 3, playing great. But he has a tough matchup there with Saquon Barkley. Make sure you keep tabs on Barkley. He can still beat you as a pass catcher and running back, as a traditional running back. He's a great pass blocker too. So Saquon has injuries, a little older, but there's a reason why he was a top 5 draft pick. He's a very versatile, complete running back. So Ernest Jones will keep tabs on him. And like you mentioned, Victor, the linebackers are making a comeback for a reason. So take away Barkley, I think you're pretty good there, because if Barkley's providing balance for Tyrod Taylor, that opens up the passing game for Darius Slayton, guys like that, Jalen Hyatt. So take away Barkley, Ernest Jones, and also too, people keep complaining that maybe not as much as this year as last year, Raheem Morris doesn't blitz a lot. I've seen Ernest Jones out there providing pressure, and I was happy when I saw Sean McVay gave Ernest Jones a game ball, because I'm like, what he's doing right now, it don't show up in the stat sheet, but I've seen the pressure, and I see the chaos is created in the trenches because Ernest Jones just pops out on tape.
Yeah, he does, and I've seen that since they came off the bye week. Ernest Jones they're using him in more of a to pressure the quarterback. You've been seeing him on more blitzes. One more thing, over to your point, Ernest Jones had a 91.1 PFF grade since week 13. That's number 1 among all linebackers.
Wow.
So,
pretty good.
Yeah, there you go.
And I was checking it last for the full season last week, so he's been picking that up too.
Yeah, he's been on a tear. Like he's been pumping off on the tape. When I just watching it live, you just focus on number 50, or is it 50 or 53? I keep forgetting because he changed numbers.
53, yeah.
Yeah, I think he's 53. But yeah, he stands out. Like I seen him. He was huge against the Saints. He had a couple pressures there against Lamar. He had a good game against Lamar Jackson in that Ravens game. So Yeah, between him and Aaron Donald, they've been the two guys leading the way on defense. And I know some other guy, Akello Witherspoon has been another guy. So that'll be something to keep an eye on with those guys. Gilbert, I'm gonna go with Kayvon Thibodeau against Rob Havenstein, or even Dexter Lawrence and Kevin Dotson. And one of the things, we had all good things to ask the question earlier. Let me get to it. Here we go. Let me see. It says your thoughts. Here we go. Your thoughts on re-signing Kevin Dotson. And I saw something very interesting today, Gilbert, that had to do with Kevin Dotson. He is, according to Yahoo, is going to be their 23rd rank free agent this coming off season. So he's getting some rave reviews from a lot of people who are looking forward to the free agent class this offseason. And he's projected to get 4 years, $69 million this offseason with
Wow.
41 million guarantee. So that'll be something to keep an eye on. Dotson's been one of the best guards. It's been a great trade by Les Need, bringing him over from the Steelers. He's been a great run. He's been especially good in the run blocking, grading over 85. He's been among the third or fourth best run blockers in the NFL, Gilbert. So for me, it's going to be the offensive line with Steve Avila, Kevin Dotson, Rob Havenstein going up against that really good Giants defensive line.
Yeah, a couple things there, and actually three things. First of all, I'm actually working on top 50 free agents for 2024 at SI. Me and a colleague there, and yeah, I think we're gonna try to find a spot for Kevin Dotson. So he's playing great. I want to make sure that we don't just focus on the big names here. So I'm trying to take my time with that one because they signed it to me maybe a couple of weeks ago, and I got some time, but I want to make sure everybody's included. So yeah, but the other part too, if Dotson gets something like that assessment there on the price tag, I don't know if I see the Rams giving that out because they also have some leverage. Like, hey, like you weren't playing well with the Steelers, you're comfortable here, you like our scheme, you like what McVay is doing. Why don't you give kind of the discount here and stick around and keep doing what you're doing? And no problem with taking the bag too and taking the money. You got to secure what you got to get. So linemen are hard to find, and every year we see it where people kind of splurge for a veteran lineman because they're not available. That's why we see at the trade deadline. They're like people when you have a lineman that's good, you don't trade them. You don't put them on the block. You need them. So they get money, but also it kind of makes you feel like okay, you're reaching. Maybe the surroundings are not the same there, and you kind of get a whiff on a signing too. So that could be a dangerous game there. And then the Rams have a lot of money too. So where are they going to put all that money? What are they going to focus on? So there's a lot of issues there with that one. But he's definitely played his way into a second contract. We'll see what they do. And if he's ranked 24, I got to really sit down and think about it. He's going to be out there. But you also have the draft too. Steve Avila, worked out for the Rams, second round pick there. So maybe you built it through the trenches with the draft capital. And then one more thing, so I don't know if I'm gonna have a spot to say this, Victor, because you're talking offense real quick. I was reading what Dennis Allen said about the Rams pre-snap motion, and I think he called it eye candy. And he was
Yeah.
just saying like, yeah, that eye candy really got to us. Like we were trying to prepare and game plan for the pre-snap motion, and just they do a good job of just thinking the ball's going that way or going that way or that way, or it's gonna be a run play, pass play. And that's just a credit to the offense. Everything is clicking, offensive line, running back, wide receivers, tight end, quarterback. We're like, and also credit to Sean McVay. He's doing these motions where they're guessing and they don't know who's going to get the ball, and that's why that was such a beautiful performance on Thursday because everybody was contributing. And when you're confusing the defense, you know where the ball is going. That creates a bunch of opportunities for a bunch of players. And credit to Sean McVay for putting people in positions to succeed.
Yeah, and it goes to how he's evolved. I mean, he just didn't sit on what he's done so far in his career. Like, yeah, he won a Super Bowl. Then he got humble with what happened last season with all the injuries, and then he finally has all his players available after the bye week, and he's like, "All right, let's go ahead and implement this," because they look like a completely. It's not the fact that they're just healthy; it's the fact that he had them all. to where he can put them in different situations to be able to be good players and be able to run that offense. And as you talked about, it's been eye candy for a lot of it's hard for to prepare for this Rams offense. And to that point, Gilbert, I told you a couple of weeks ago that the Ravens playing the Rams was going to help them when they face the 49ers, because you're going to see a lot of the same concepts. It might not be the same kind of motion, but you're going to see some of the same blocking concepts. And I think the only difference here is that with the 49ers have Trent Williams. The Rams have Rob Havenstein. They have Kevin Dotson. They have Steve Avila. They have a better. I would say they have a. It's weird for me to say, but outside of Trent Williams, I would say that the Rams have a better offensive line, and that's why he's been able. And keeping them healthy has been the biggest
Yeah.
key to everything, Gilbert.
Yeah, people were giving me crap for that tweet that I had. Like, what about the offensive line? I know the offensive line is doing well, but I don't want to have a like if I have a long tweet that looks like a paragraph, no one's gonna read it. But yeah, I gave Robinson credit, I gave Kyron Williams credit, Cooper Kupp, Puka Stafford. I'm not forgetting the offensive line. I covered that team closely last year when they had 12 combinations the first 13 games of the season. Hey, and that's a credit to the Rams reinventing themselves, saying, "Hey, Brian Allen, you're a good starter, but take a back seat. It's going to be Coleman Shelton, second round pick. Who do you go? Built through the trenches. Steve Avila, your highest pick last year, and then you paid Joe Noteboom, but you said, you know what, take a seat, figure out how to play guard because Jackson is a little. He's not the best left tackle, but he's doing a better job, and you want to get the best five guys, and it doesn't matter who's getting paid the most. Undrafted free agent a couple of years ago, Jackson go play left tackle. No, boom. We kind of want to try you at a guard, but we see an opportunity in Kevin Dotson. Go swing that trade right there, and then obviously you got Havenstein, who's sometimes uneven, but he's a captain, he's a leader, and he was the best offensive lineman just by being available last year.
Yeah, and the last thing I'll say about this, Gilbert, is eventually you have to pay for your offensive line, Gilbert. They've been one of the lowest paid
Yeah.
offensive lines for the since they won the Super Bowl. So eventually you have to pay for your offensive
I don't know.
line.
You think they'll change? It could be one of these core things that Les Snead believes in. I don't know.
Yeah, you might be right. I mean, hey, it's worked out so far, but I mean, and then Demarcus Robinson, do you pay him? Like he's been moving around. He's gone from after he started his career with Kansas City, he went from there to the Raiders to the Ravens, and so he finally found a home with the Rams. Do the Rams feel as good as he does about
Yeah.
his situation here? We will see, but that's another thing for the offseason. Let me get to some of these comments because they've been coming hot and fast here. Philly wins out, gets 13-4, forces Niners to win out, putting pressure on the last game with Rams. Rams could knock them out for the number 1 seed and secure their number 6 seed. But then if you knock them out, that means you're going to have to face the Niners in back-to-back weeks. So, I mean, there's a lot to kind of think about. But, hey, I mean, if that's all those things are in play, Jerry Sinke, hoping the Steelers knock out the Seahawks and the upcoming game. Jesse Baladez, yes, all good things. Go Pittsburgh. My friend is a Pittsburgh fan. Um, Delbert Salgado talked him into deferring his money with the chance of winning a Super Bowl. I don't think you can defer money in the NFL, but I mean, that's something we'll see. Who knows? We might start seeing. There's always loopholes to the salary cap, Gilbert. All good things. It looks like the motions also help Stafford better read the opposing defenses.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
it doesn't work without having a guy like that either. Adding to his HOF, not HOH credentials.
And Jerry Guevara says, thankfully, they've stayed for the most part healthy. And that's been the biggest thing. I think we all said all this season, if it's successful, it comes down to Matthew Stafford staying healthy. And so far, outside of missing one game, he's been relatively healthy, Gilbert.
Yeah, no, that's the biggest thing is like they're healthy. They also they tweaked the offensive line, so I think it goes it goes hand in hand there, and especially when you kind of reinvented yourself as a rushing scheme where you're not a zone scheme, you're more of a gap scheme. All that needed to be in sync, being healthy, playing together, figuring it out, and then once Kyron Williams came back, the holes were there because they were together.
Yeah, and you're the one that brought this up last week, but you commented about all the different coaches they brought in, and credit to Sean McVay. He, instead of hiring dudes that he just knows and running the same kind of concepts, he's like, hey, let me grab different kind of coaches who know different styles, so that way we can evolve, and it's worked so far.
Yeah, no, definitely. That's a lot of coaches don't know how to do that. So don't hire your friends, but also you got to have a coach like McVay who knows how to control everybody.
Yeah, that's too. All right, let's get to our keys to the game. Go ahead, Gilbert.
Yeah, I think for me, what did I have? I had something about being a closer. Yeah, learn how to close freaking games. I'm like, don't make it so close. 8 point game actually both times, right? Was it 28-20 Commanders
I mean,
game?
they
And
were up by almost 3 touchdowns in both
yeah,
games.
Saints 30-22. So you don't want to make it, be that close. You want to have these games, especially this Giants game. It, I know there's some trap vibes there too, where you're a young team flying across the country, a team that's well coached, and maybe you could get a little boost from Tyrod Taylor. But if you jump out to a lead, go in and end that game and make like Monday night when the Ravens were up big in the third quarter. You knew that game was over. Like just kind of go with the motions there, but don't make it close. Don't make it a one possession game. Don't make Dennis Allen take an onside kick with 4 minutes to go and then gets criticized by his reporters over there. So he went for the onside kick a little too early, but there was a reason why he went for it because it was a one possession game. You never know. So just kind of if you go up 10 against the Giants, which is a high possibility, close them out early third quarter. Bring in Carson Wentz in the fourth quarter and have a nice chill day. But obviously, easier said than done. And it's a young roster, but learn how to close and learn that habit before the playoffs.
Honestly, I didn't blame Dennis Allen for going with the onside kick. I mean, the fact that he talked about the Rams offense tells you that he didn't see them stopping them. So if he knew that he wasn't going to stop them, he's like, you know what? Let me at least steal a possession here. And unfortunately, it didn't work out. But I mean, sometimes you just got to go for it. A head coach knows their team better than anybody.
Yeah. And
So
he's a defensive minded coach, so this is his background. And he's like, man, that team is really good offensively.
yeah, and so it tells you where they're at offensively. And I'm with you with what you said in terms of, you just gotta you have to, you know, close out these games, especially these teams where you're the better team right now, especially with the way they're playing. They're scoring over 30 points a game since the bye week. You know your identity. It's run the ball, get the ball into your playmakers, and you're going to be successful. And then defensively, you know what you have, and Raheem Morris in that defense. So that goes along to what I'm going to get to. And one of the positions that I haven't talked about, and that has to do with special teams. For me, it's my key is play a clean game on special teams. We've seen a punt block that got the Saints back in the game against the Rams on Thursday night. We've seen, Haversick miss a field goal on a bad snap. We've seen special teams be a big reason why these teams come back on the Rams. So for me, it's play a clean game on special teams and don't allow long touchdowns to giant receivers. Someone like Jalen Hyatt, Slayton can get behind and go for a touchdown there. So correct some of the mistakes you've made in the last couple of games, and you should be able to breeze to a win here. But if you have to make sure that you have for once, because we haven't seen it since the bye week, they haven't had a clean game on special teams, Gilbert.
Yeah, these are three things they should probably clean up in this game. Is inexperience, going on the road like that, and then being a closer, and then playing better on special teams. Like things like those are the three concerns, at least for me. I feel like for the Rams before the playoffs, and if they could kind of blow out the Giants and close them out early, and then have a clean game on special team, you answer a lot of question marks right there.
Yeah, and then send us your keys to the games, guys. Here's all good things. Keep Stafford clean for the majority of the game, and Rams should win easy against the G-men. So there we go. All right, Gilbert, we're gonna get to our betting spotlight here. The Rams are 6-point favorites, and the over/under it's 42. What's the right side of this bet here or this line?
Mm. Yeah, I forget where I saw. Maybe I saw somewhere else. It was like maybe 43 or 44. on the total, but I decided to go under just because I feel like, well, one, the Giants are not really a high scoring team. They did score a lot of points on the Eagles defense. I'm a little concerned about that, but they were pretty much doing nothing in the first half until Tyrod Taylor came in. So I went all under because of that. Tom DeVito and the Giants got 6 points not too long ago against the New Orleans Saints, a bad Saints defense. But I do have hesitation because of the Rams offense. But I don't know. I have a feeling that might be a game where like they do show out and they know how to close the team by running the football. So it could be like maybe kind of low scoring. They still have like a double digit lead, but low scoring game. Just make it easy on yourself. Run the football. Smother the Giants offense, and I'll take the under. I'm gonna a little risky here, and then the Rams are 6 point favorites. I'm cool with that too.
Yeah. If the line stays at 42, I like the over here, Gilbert. If it's more than that, I don't, because if I'm doing the math right here, the Rams have been scoring over 30 points since the bye week. So that tells me, well, are the Giants going to be able to score 12 or more points? And I would say yes, just with what we've seen from the Rams defense. They bend, but they don't break. They'll allow you to score points, but not a lot of points. So my thing would be, I would go with the over if it stays at 42. If it goes to 45, then I'm taking the under. So looking at that over under right now at 42, I like the over just because of the Rams offense and how they've been scoring since the bye week. So that's the only reason I would take the over under. And we've been hitting that over, and they've been hitting it lately. So that just says a lot about that Rams offense and how good it's been.
Yeah, I'm with all good things here. I think it's gonna be a long drive. It's cutting the clock. That first drive, by the way, in the Saints game, just killed a bunch of clock, and they still got the points there. But yeah, I'm ready for our predictions.
Yeah, it was what, 7 minutes and 56 seconds
Yeah,
on that
almost eight
first
minutes.
drive.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
each team only got one possession in the first quarter.
yeah, and then we have Jesse Valadez. For what I've seen, we are battle tested. Higby is stretching his toes on the sideline last game. I'm glad he back healthy beside the line like you were talking about. Yep. All right, Gilbert, let's go to our game predictions. Send us what your game predictions are, guys. If you're, send them in the comments. We'll, as we wrap up this episode of Rams and Giants preview, go ahead and give us your game predictions. We're going to give ours now.
Yeah.
All right, Gilbert, what do you got for us?
Yeah, obviously I'm going with the Rams here. I think the Rams, like I mentioned, low scoring games. So I will go 23-13, win by double digits. I think they jump out to a sizable lead there, and maybe a late points for the Giants. But like all good things said, maybe kill some clock, run the football. It won't be like the sexy game like we've seen with them. The when they've been like doing the shootout games. I think in one of these games, just win, get out, and just stay healthy. So 23-13 for me here.
I like that. For me, I'm gonna go 30-14. I think, as we talked about, we know what the Rams have been doing since the bye week. They've been scoring. The teams have had a hard time defensively trying to stop this offense, and I think they just continue to move the ball with Kyron Williams, Cooper Cup, Puka Nacua, and Matthew Stafford. I thought one of the cool things that I saw, we keep saying, well, the Rams are spraying the ball around. It was only what is it, four guys who got touches from Matthew Stafford. It was Higby, I think it was Higby, Demarcus Robinson, Cooper Cup, and Puka Nacua. So, I mean, just continue to feed those guys. That's your bread and butter. And yeah, just get out of there with the win. All that matters, honestly, all that matters is just getting out with the win and improving your chances to make the playoffs. So,
Yeah,
yeah, Gilbert, I
it
think.
was it was a weird stat line, but when quarterbacks are passing to eight people, like the last four have like two catches for 8 yards. Like I don't think that matters, but those four guys really made an impact. And when you have four dudes making an impact like that, I think you could say spreading the football.
Let me ask you this: does Demarcus Robinson score a touchdown for a fifth straight game?
Ooh. You know what? I'll say yeah.
Okay. There you go. I'm gonna post that question to you guys. You guys let us know in the comments. Does the Marcus Robinson score a touchdown for a fifth straight game? Let us know in the comments. If you're watching this on replay, go ahead and drop. If you watched this long, go ahead and drop it off and let us know. But before we go, Gilbert, I just want to say, thanks to all the subscribers. Honestly, like if you know anybody, we're trying to get to 1,000 subscribers. We've been getting, thanks to your videos that you posted, thanks to the Rams winning, we've been getting a lot more support. So we enjoy it. I know we said, hey, we've been talking about helping us out to get to the Super Bowl radio role, but honestly, what really helps is the subscriptions. If you guys like what we're doing, continue to support, leave us comments, go ahead and tell other people because we're trying to get to 1,000 subscribers. So I just want to give a shout out to the new subscribers and to everybody who joined us today, Gilbert. We had all good things. Jerry Guavera, we have the Worm, we have Jerry Sinky, Jesse Balades. I mean, the names go on and on. Deborah Salgado, which we talked about. Joe, who just subscribed. AMS, who left us a comment right before we hopped on. So that is really, really cool. We have one more question here before we go, Gilbert, and now before I give it to you here. Do you think Tyrod will be rusty?
No, I think he's always ready to go, but he's a very even guy though. Like it's never like doesn't really go too poorly or too high. So you know what you get in Tyra. He's been around for a while, so he can scramble a little bit, protects the football. So I don't think if he's like on his game, you shouldn't be concerned because it's not like a high ceiling. But that guy is just even kill, and I think that's why he sticks around the NFL as a pretty good backup.
And then we have the Warren Robinson. We'll have another TD for sure. By the way, how's Tutu doing? And I'll answer this one, Gilbert. Um, from what I've heard from McVay was because it was a short week and he was coming off the concussion, he didn't want to put him out there too much. He was in there for I think 4 plays, but he says he is still part of the offense, so we should see more of him in this game against the Giants. So that's the update that I have. All good things, new sub. Thank you for the subscription. And then Jerry Guevara, D-Rob scores again. So there we go.
Yeah, let's see what happens, and it's a good show here. A lot of people commenting. It's not the biggest game on the schedule for week 17. That's wild to say, week 17, but just a playoff clincher scenario. Let's see if they do it here. Beat the Giants, get some help from the Steelers, or a tie from the Packers and the Vikings, and they're in. And a quick promo before you get out of here. I need to take a snack break. I'm like Rex Ryan, get some food, but we'll probably jump on like in like 7:45 for the Looking Ahead show. That's where we talk about all things NFL in week 17. So you want to talk more general NFL, stick around for that, or come back in 30 minutes and we'll talk all NFL.
Yeah, if you're watching us here and you still want to hear more football, it won't be just Rams. We'll cover all the NFL. It'll just be Gilbert. I'll be in the background. You'll hear my voice. But yeah, we get we talk about all things NFL. We preview the big games. We'll get into the Cowboys and Lions game. We'll get into the Ravens and Dolphins, and we'll get into the Raiders and Colts game. But we'll also talk about this game. We won't, do a whole preview like we did here. But if you want to join us, we're more than happy to have you on there, Gilbert. But I'm on to the Giants now, Gilbert.
Yep.
So go ahead and what do you got for the people before we go?
Nothing. I'm ready to go. It was a great show. Almost 90 minutes here. When we go longer than an hour, that means people are commenting, we're chatting, we're being engaging, we're having conversations. We're getting new subscribers. We're getting people confused with HOH or HOF. So good show here, productive. The Worm, shout out to you. Thanks, guys, for listening and watching. You two is the next best thing to chilling with my old Ram Bros in SoCal. That's a nice compliment. Thank you for that. I appreciate it. The Worm, because you are from Milwaukee, right? I think I saw. Yeah, awesome, cool. We appreciate the love from all over the country or even the world. So House of Horns on the rise. But Victor, I'm ready to go. Are we ready?
Yes, I'm ready to go. So we're on to the Giants.
There you go, Jesse. The more the merrier. Robinson scores. Thank you too. All good things. So on that note, ya nos vamos. Pues Jerry, ya nos vamos. Pues vámonos.